and Miss Audrey Cho.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
We represent the defendant in today's case, Taylor Hobbs.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Your Honor, that concludes appearances from the defense.
Any preacher on audition counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. As it is our first time in forward today, we would like to ask you to report for movement about the world. May we move freely?
Yes.
When approaching opposing counsel on the bench, witnesses both opposing and our own, should we ask for permission or just let the record reflect?
So if it's your witness, you can just let the record reflect, but if it's opposing counsel, a bench, or an opposing witness, I need you to ask for it.
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, we invoke Witness Rules of Evidence 605, pardon, 603 and 615, to construct a swearing and sequestration of both their party representatives.
And your party representative is Mashigi,
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
And does the defense have one?
Yes, Your Honor, the defense's party representative is Taylor Hobbs.
Next, we would like to submit a bench book with the stipulations, witness case law, and the like. May my co-counsel approach?
Has the defense already seen this?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, finally, we would like to draw your attention to a tab called Stipulations. In Stipulation 6, the plaintiff and defense have agreed to pre-admit several documents, including the will, assets, death certificate, and medical record of Abraham.
Is that correct reading?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Your Honor, with that, the plaintiff is ready to proceed.
Anything from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. We just have a document we'd like to tender to the bench. It's merely a statement of intent to offer character evidence. It's been filled out and reviewed by both parties.
All right.
May my co-counsel approach and tender?
Yes.
Your Honor, that concludes pretrial matters from the defense. We're ready to proceed to evidence.
Whenever the plaintiff opener is ready.
Yes, Your Honor.
May I begin?
Yes.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, may it please the court. Today we are here because betrayal was brewing aboard the Mid-Riverina Express. How a medallion and a growing sense of resentment led the defendant, Taylor Hobson, to kill his own father. You see, over 20 years ago, the defendant's mother, Martha, was diagnosed with cancer. Lacking the financial means to pursue a potentially life-saving treatment, the defendant reached out to their estranged father, Avery Bancroft, begging for his assistance. But when Mr. Bancroft denied the defendant money, and when his mother unfortunately passed away in 2009, this planted the seed of resentment deep within Taylor Hobson's heart, where it would begin to fester and brew. But for a time, a monthly $50,000 stipend sent to the defendant by none other than their father, Avery Bancroft, kept this resentment at bay. Well, at least until April 2023, when Mr. Bancroft stopped sending that stipend altogether. So in April 2024, Mr. Hobson boarded the Mid-Riverina Express not just to exact revenge on his father, but to obtain a medallion. His late mother's medallion. A medallion that his mother had gifted to Mr. Bancroft over 20 years ago. A medallion that Mr. Bancroft never took off. A medallion that Mr. Hobson thought he would never get back. So on April 24th, Mr. Hobson entered his father's cabin and brewed him a special cup of tea. A tea he knew his father couldn't resist. A tea, members of the jury, laced with a high concentration of potassium, which he knew would be fatal to someone with his father's medical condition. So when he left his cabin that night, after he exploited his father's vulnerability to potassium, he ripped his late mother's medallion off his neck, knowing he'd gotten exactly what he came for. Knowing that in a few mere hours, the potassium he brewed in his father's tea would halt his heart completely. But you see, we aren't just here today because of the medallion. We're here today because of this. Mr. Bancroft's will, which labels Taylor Hobson as a 95% beneficiary to his estate, means that Taylor Hobson is not only trying to come out of his father's murder with his medallion, but a $400 million payment. Members of the jury, despite what you may have just heard, this is not a criminal trial, but rather a civil one. We will prove to you that Taylor Hobson played a role in the death of his father, but he will not be convicted of murder. Instead, under the Slayer statute, which states that an individual who plays a role in the death of another cannot inherit that individual's estate, we will prove to you by preponderance of the evidence that Taylor Hobson played a role either directly or indirectly in the death of his father. Meaning that if you find it ever more slightly probable than not, that the scales of justice tip against Taylor Hobson even a fraction of a degree, you must find him liable. Today, we embrace the burden to prove his guilt by a preponderance of the evidence, and we will do so by calling 3 key witnesses. You will first hear from a private investigator, Jordan Nathanson. She'll go on to detail how Mr. Bancroft begged for her assistance, how he thought that something was brewing aboard the Mid-River Evening Express, how he thought that someone was out to do him harm, and how T, with the defendant, confirmed his guilt. Next, you'll hear from a medical expert, Dr. Edmond. She'll go on to describe how Mr. Bancroft's medical condition made him fatally adverse to potassium, and how Mr. Bancroft's death was a result of a hyperkalemia-induced heart attack caused by a banana extract that she saw that very same trip. Finally, you'll hear from Mr. Kirby Doolittle, or Mrs. Kirby Doolittle, Mr. Bancroft's former assistant. He'll go on to describe how Mr. Bancroft and Mr. Hobson had a strained relationship, and how he saw Mr. Hobson wearing a medallion, that very same medallion his father never took off, following his death. Members of the jury, Taylor Hobson brewed far more than a mere cup of tea for his father on April 25th. He brewed a plot of betrayal. Taylor Hobson has already gotten away with robbing his father of his life and his medallion. A medallion, I might add, that Taylor Hobson didn't dare wear in court today because it would have been far too damning of his guilt. It is up to you to ensure that Taylor Hobson doesn't come away with both of his father's medallion and his millions. That is why at the conclusion of today's trial, my co-counsel, Alexia Sella, will ask you to return with a verdict of liable for the death of David Bancroft. Thank you. Thank you.
Defense, whenever you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. There were 2 problems and only one solution. This is Avery Bancroft's case. It's the reason we're here today. And Mr. Aparo just got up here and he told you what was at stake for Taylor Hobson. He told you he was going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. What Mr. Aparo didn't tell you is that there's another name in this one. Shannon Chief. Now I can understand why Mr. Aparo may have forgotten to tell you that, members of the jury, because you see the plaintiff, she only gets 5%. But you see, that's the problem for the plaintiff. That's why on April 25th, when she got a call that her father was dead, she wasn't upset. She wasn't even shocked. She knew the call was coming because she planned to kill her father. But she wasn't alone. She had someone on the Mid-River Express to help. Someone with their own problem that needed solved. Someone by the name of Ashley Conn. And although these 2 individuals may have had 2 different problems, Ashley and Shannon only needed one solution. Kill David Bancroft. But you see, members of the jury, the plaintiff's solution doesn't stop there. Because if at the end of today's trial you find for the plaintiff, Shannon Chief walks out of his courtroom with $404 million, 100% of her property. That's why the plaintiff has brought a cause of action under the slavery. That's why the plaintiff must prove to you that it's more likely than not that Taylor Hobson was a culpable actor in the death of his father. that his actions directly led to Avery Bancroft's death. That's the plaintiff's burden today's case, members of the jury. As the defense, we have no burden. But despite that, throughout today's trial, we'll show you exactly what those two problems were and how Ashley Connell and Shannon Shahid came to their one solution. First, Shannon Shahid's problem. You'll hear from Taylor Hobson's fiancée, Kelly Dukes. And she'll be the first to admit Taylor Hobson and his father, they didn't have the best relationship. But you'll hear that the plaintiff had an even worse one. She argued with her father about money. That she only received 5% of that will. Members of the jury, that she told her father, the only time I ever want to see you is at your funeral. Second, Ashley Connell's problem. You'll hear from firefighter Alex Silver. She'll tell you that Ashley Connell was being sued for $1 billion. The person suing her? Avery Bancroft. But that's not all, members of the jury, because she'll also tell you about a burn book that Avery Bancroft had. A list of all of his enemies. Whose name sits atop that list? Ashley Connell. Finally, members of the jury, their soul. You'll hear from another passenger on the train, Corey Shelton. Corey Shelton will tell you that the plaintiff and Ashley Connell were in communication months before the train. And they texted about two things: Avery Bancroft and the Mid-Rid Arena Express. Members of the jury, you're going to have a chance to look at those text messages yourself. And you're going to see that the plaintiff told Ashley how this would all end. Bancroft gone. And your lawsuit gone with it. Members of the jury, this case didn't start back in May when the plaintiff filed her suit. It didn't start back in April when Ashley Connell boarded the Mid-Rid Arena Express. No, members of the jury, it started all the way back in October of 2020. When Ashley Connell and Shannon Shahid started texting, and they came to their solution. But members of the jury, you have your own solution in today's case. Because here, in this courtroom, you have your own solution of what the plaintiff is. That's why at the end of today's trial, my co-counsel, Ms. Cho, will come before you and ask that you find Taylor Hobson not liable. Thank you. Your Honor, at this time I'll be publishing a copy of Exhibit 6 to the jury. May I approach? Yes. This is Avery Bancroft. It's been pre-admitted in today's case.
Does the plaintiff have any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, we'd like to call Jordan Nathanson to stand. May I proceed?
Yes.
Please state your name for the court.
Ms. Jordan Nathanson, thank you.
And what do you do for a living, Ms. Nathanson?
I'm a private investigator. I currently run my own practice back in the Midlands. However, I used to work for the FBI. I began working there after I graduated. I worked in the VA youth division, but I find private investigating so much more interesting. I have so much more control of my cases.
What did you do for the FBI?
To be specific, I worked in the VA youth division, which stands for Behavioral Analysis Unit. There I dealt with a variety of cases: larceny, homicide, domestic terrorism, quite interesting stuff. But again, I needed that urge to kind of control my cases, which is why I switched to private investigating. Regardless, I'm very grateful for my time at the FBI, as it turned me to the professional I am today.
So you mentioned working for the FBI after graduating. So what degrees did you receive?
Alright, well, I did my undergrad at Bowling Green State University, got my degree in psychology and biochemistry. I really enjoyed biochemistry, so I pursued a master's in it at Michigan State University.
It's very nice, Ms. Nathanson. So what is it that brought you onto the Mid-Ring Express?
It is a little bit complicated. So I have a client back in Midlands, JC Longstreet. He wanted me to investigate something in Perth. He owns the Mid-Ring Express, so had me travel from Sydney to Perth on the Mid-Ring Express. I boarded on the 22nd of April, and then I was supposed to leave in Perth on the 25th.
You weren't on the train to perform any official investigations?
Objection, Your Honor, it's a leading question.
Can you rephrase?
Yes. Were you on the were you on the train to perform any official investigations?
Not exactly. I did not perform any official investigation on the train.
So, Ms. Nathanson, I want to start from the very beginning. Did you happen to recognize anybody on the Mid-Ring Express?
It was quite eerie, almost odd. I saw a lot of familiar faces from Midlands, but more notably, I recognized Avery Bancroft. I only knew him from reputation, and I knew that his son, Taylor Hobson, was there as well. Also, only knew him from reputation.
Did you ever interact with Mr. Bancroft?
I did. On April 24th, I was contacted by Avery Bancroft, and he offered me $5 million to investigate. He felt that there was someone coming after him. He was quite frightened, fidgeting with this medallion around his neck. I felt really bad.
Medallion? What medallion?
It was a little tattered, but it had this gorgeous golden bead or something. It just would not stop fidgeting with it. He was so anxious.
Would you recognize this medallion if it was shown to you today?
I would.
Let the record reflect that I'm approaching the witness with Exhibit 17. Permission to approach the witness counsel?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Thank you, counsel.
Now, Ms. Nathanson, the image I just handed to you, is that the medallion that you saw around Avery Bancroft's neck?
Yes, looks just like it.
And is that a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, I would know. I didn't see him with it without it a single day.
Motion to enter Exhibit 17 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Alright, so enter.
Thank you, Ms. Nathanson. I can take that back from now.
Thank you.
So let's continue with that conversation that you had. How did you respond to Avery Bancroft's offer?
I'll have to admit, I did feel a little bad. I had to decline. I mean, given the time frame, I'd be leaving on the 25th. I would just not have had enough time to do a thorough investigation to get into what he wanted. Plus, I mean, again, I knew him by reputation, and it was not a good one. He was not the best, he was not the most favorable person in Midlands. So, again, trying to find out who was wanting to go after him, needle in a haystack is impossible.
How did he respond to you declining the offer?
Again, very worried, very flustered, did not stop fidgeting. So I decided to ease his mind a little bit, and I offered him a piece of advice. And I told him to keep an eye on the those who are closest to him, because in my experience, it's always the person closest.
Now, Mrs. Nathanson, what happened after this conversation?
I went back to my cabin, and when I got there, I received phone calls from JC Longstreet, my client back in Midlands. He told me that he was looking for Taylor Hobson and asked if Hobson would be on the train. And he wanted me to go ask Taylor Hobson about the money that Hobson supposedly owed him. Again, he left out quite a few details, so I hung up and I immediately went to Taylor Hobson's cabin to go press him with it.
What happened once you got to Taylor Hobson's cabin?
I knocked on the door and Taylor Hobson answered. I asked Taylor Hobson whether or not he planned on paying JC Longstreet back. Taylor Hobson kind of cocked his head a little bit, a little confused, and invited me into the cabin.
Did you end up entering the cabin?
Yeah, Taylor Hobson then invited me for tea there. On the bedside table, there was like a tea set, some loose tea leaves, and I mean, I really had nothing better to do at the moment, so I decided to have some tea with Taylor Hobson regarding the subject.
What happened during your conversation over tea?
Well, Taylor Hobson began making some tea. It was peppermint. I smelled the tea leaves myself, and Taylor Hobson said it was his favorite kind. But tea wasn't the only thing that he poured into my drink.
What else did he pour into your drink?
He picked up this bottle that had like a banana logo on it, and he poured a little bit into my tea and into his tea. And I mean, I wouldn't make it a habit to be drinking tea from strangers like that, so I obviously asked him what it was.
And would you recognize this bottle that was shown to you today?
Yes, I would.
note that I'm approaching the witness with exhibit 40. Permission to approach the witness. Would you all want to prepare?
Yes, if you have one, if you don't.
Yes, this is just a witness.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Now, Ms. Nathanson, is this the bottle that you saw in the room that day?
Looks just like the dealer opened it, dropped a few drops of both parties.
Is this a fair and accurate copy?
It is.
Motion to enter exhibit 40 into evidence?
Any objections?
None, Your Honor.
Alright, so entered.
Now, Mrs. Nathanson, what happened after she poured this into the drinks?
Well, obviously I pressed him about it, and I mean, I was quite uncomfortable with this. So he responds with, it's a supplement he's been taking for a while, and wanted to see if I could taste it in my tea. And I took a sip, it didn't seem poisonous or anything, and I mean, I couldn't taste a single thing, so I let him know. I shook my head and I finished my tea.
Did you ever end up finding out about the money that J.C. Longstreet he had owed?
I did. So I asked again, JC wants to know if you plan on paying him back, and Taylor Hobson responded with, he won't have to worry about the money for much longer. With my response, I was satisfied, so I exited the cabin and went back to my cabin.
What happened after this conversation you had?
Well, there was a welcome dinner planned, or there was a dinner actually planned, so I went there to go get dressed and get ready for dinner.
And how did this dinner go?
I wish I could tell you more about it. However, unfortunately, I don't remember much. I remember getting there, I remember talking to Taylor Hobson, I had a drink, and then the walls started caving in. I started getting super groggy, super dizzy, and I decided to go to bed. I mean, for my time in the FBI, a lot of my cases kept me up at night, so I got very accustomed to taking sleeping pills. And it felt as if I had been, I don't know, taking way too many overdoses of the pills. So I went back to bed, and I did not wake up until the next day.
So what happened the next morning, Ms. Nathanson?
The next morning was April 25th, and I was awoke in my crew cabin to the news that Avery Bancroft had passed away. I was a bit in shock, but immediately my private investigator instincts kicked in, so I went straight to his cabin.
What did you observe when you got to his cabin?
The first thing I noticed was on the floor, there was like this mess of just tea leaves. So I picked one up and I took a sniff, and it, unremarkably, it smelled like peppermint. Super, super potent. Which I found a little bit strange, but then I noticed something else.
What else did you notice?
Underneath Bancroft's bed, there was this like teacup that like seemed to fall and it slipped under the bed. And I noticed that that teacup, after taking a really good look at it, looked just like the one from Taylor Hobson's. The one that I drank from the day before. And I mean, I'm not going to tamper with evidence, so I did not touch it. I found that very, very odd. But then they were kind of ushering people out of the cabin, so I did have to exit to go pack up.
So did you leave the train right after packing?
No, once I finished packing, the Australian police came and I asked them if I could go along with them, and they said yes. So they allowed me to go look at some of the evidence while they collected it, as long as they didn't tamper with anything. So I went back into the cabin and I noticed that there was another very unusual thing. Very creepy.
What was unusual this time?
That teacup underneath Bancroft's bed, gone. See, as it was under. Immediately, red flags. I was like, where did this go? So, I looked around a little bit, could not find him in the cabin. I exit the cabin, and who I bumped into? Taylor Hobson. This is a little shocking. Taylor Hobson was there holding that teacup. It looked identical. Taylor Hobson gets pale in the face. I was like, very confused. So I look back to the cabin, I look at Taylor Hobson, and all of a sudden it clicked. I mean, again, Taylor Hobson had this teacup, and, you know, now that I think about it, Taylor Hobson had a medallion on too.
Is this the same medallion that you saw Avery Bancroft wearing?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation under Rule 602 may be heard. Your Honor, this witness can testify that it looks like the medallion that Avery Bancroft was wearing, but can't say it's the exact one.
Your Honor,
Yep.
may I offer?
Yep.
This witness is going to state that they assumed at the time that it was just a matching medallion to Avery Bancroft's, not the same exact one, until they went further to read an autopsy report, which we will be attempting to enter the evidence.
So, you want to
Yes, Your Honor. The way the question was phrased was this the medallion you saw?
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask you to rephrase and then lay some foundation, and then we'll, if she doesn't, feel free to re-object. So for now, I'm gonna overrule it.
Yes, Your
Yes,
Honor.
Your Honor. So, what did you notice about Taylor Hobson?
It looked identical to the one that Bancroft was wearing, the one that I had saw the day before. I mean, I assumed since father and son, I assumed that they could be matching medallions, but I thought otherwise once I read the autopsy report. I reviewed all the evidence in today's trial.
Would you recognize this autopsy report that was shown to you today?
I would.
Let the record reflect that I'm approaching the witness with Exhibit 19. Permission to approach the counsel. Would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Thank you.
Now, is this the autopsy report that you reviewed in the evidence?
It is.
Is it a fair and accurate copy?
It is.
Motion to, I apologize, this is pre-admitted,
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so since pre-admitted, we'll check that.
So, Ms. Nathanson, let's get back to what you were talking about. What did you notice in this autopsy report?
Well, what I found strange is if you look at the external examination section, it says, subject has bruising consistent with CPR, normal. But then it also says that subject also has minor ligature marks on the back of neck, consistent with the forcible removal of a necklace pre-mortem. Once I reviewed this, and I remembered that I saw Taylor Hobson with the teacup and the medallion, it all clicked together.
What is it that clicked for you, Ms. Nathanson?
There was something brewing, and Taylor Hobson was involved.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross?
Yes, Your Honor.
Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon, Counselor.
I want to begin by talking about someone you actually didn't mention on direct examination. But someone by the name of Ashley Collins. Now, you're aware of who that is, right?
I am passenger on the Midway Express.
And you're aware that Avery Bancroft was actually suing Ashley Collins, right?
Yes, but I did overhear that he was planning to drop it.
Well, directly back to my question, you're aware that Mr. Bancroft was suing Ashley Collins.
At the moment, yes.
And you recognize a copy of that lawsuit if I were to show it to you in court today?
I would.
Your Honor, permission to approach opposing counsel and witness internal what's in pre-marked as Exhibit 23. Would Your Honor, courtesy copy this?
Thank you, Counselor.
Of course. Now, Detective, you recognize this, right?
I do recognize it.
It's that lawsuit from Avery Bancroft against Ashley Collins.
Yeah, it appears to be about defamation, but this was dropped after death of Avery Bancroft by Taylor Hobson.
Well, that's yes to my question. It's a lawsuit from Avery Bancroft against Ashley Collins.
Yeah, it is.
It's fair and accurate to the best of your knowledge.
It is.
Hasn't been changed or altered in any way.
Does not appear to be.
Your Honor, the defense office is Exhibit 23. In pursuit of stipulation 7, all hearsay objections are removed.
Okay, so besides hearsay, any other objections?
Yes, Your Honor. Objection to authentication. May I
Oh,
answer?
yeah.
This witness has no idea of being able to prove, or opposing counsel has no idea to prove that this is in fact a correct copy or of this document here, of this lawsuit.
Your Honor, brief response.
Oh, no need. Oh, she said she authenticated herself, so I'm gonna take her for her word. So I'm gonna roll it.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Detective, looking at this exhibit, Avery Bancroft is suing Ashley Collins for defamation, right?
Yeah.
If you turn to the second page, or the last page, that lawsuit is for $1 billion, isn't it?
It is, but this was dropped, so.
That's yes to my question. It was for $1 billion.
Yeah.
And if you look at the date on the front page, that says October 4th, 2023, right?
Yeah.
That's just under 6 months before you boarded the Big River Express, right?
I would agree with you, Counselor.
Let's talk a bit more about Ashley Collins.
Sure, would you like this back, Counselor?
Yes, thank you. Your Honor, permission to approach opposing counsel and witness internal what's been pre-marked as Exhibit 28.
Granted.
Your Honor, courtesy copy, yes.
Thank you.
Now, Detective Nathanson, as a part of your investigation, you became familiar with this exhibit, right?
I did.
And because of that investigation, you're aware that this is a series of text messages between the plaintiff, Shannon Chakee, and Ashley Collins, right?
It is, but just to be clear, my investigation was prior to the Midway Express. I was not on the train conducting that investigation.
But as a part of that investigation, you became aware that this was a set of text messages between Miss Chakee and Ashley Collins.
Yes, it is.
It's fair and accurate to the best of your knowledge.
It is.
Hasn't been changed or altered in any way since the last time you saw it.
I believe so.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense offers Exhibit 28.
Any objections to the 28?
Objection to hearsay.
Okay, response on hearsay?
Yes, Your Honor. As for the Gray messages, they're sent by Shannon Chakee. Shannon Chakee is a party opponent in today's case, therefore they're admissible under Rule 801D2A. Your Honor, as for the green statements made by Ashley Connell, for the first 3 sets of text messages, we're not offering those statements for the truth of the matter asserted. Rather, we're offering them for the subsequent action of Shannon Shahid being her subsequent text messages. And as for the last set of text messages, on the second page, the right side, Ashley Connell says, "Call me ASAP, we need to talk." Your Honor, that's a command that has no inherent truth value and is therefore not understanding.
Okay, let's take these one at a time. The gray messages. What's your
Yeah.
response to that?
Yes, Your Honor, I agree with the opposing counsel that these are the statements of Shannon Shahid.
Okay, so gray statement's good.
Yes.
Next, the green statements, the 3 sets. He says, any response to what he said?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe that it is the defense's contention today that Ashley Connell was the one who killed Avery Bancroft. Therefore, her text messages would definitely be going to the truth of the matter asserted. She states in these text messages, "I know I haven't been in for a reading in a while, but I need your help." This is obviously being used for the truth of the matter asserted today.
Any response to that?
Yes, Your Honor, we don't care if anything that Ashley Connell says is actually true. All we care about is Shannon Shahid's response. We'd be amenable to a limiting instruction of the jury to only take these statements for their non-truth value.
May I respond, Your Honor? If these statements are not important, then they wouldn't be trying to admit them just for the case of Shannon Shahid's action. But the text messages of Ashley Connell is who the defense contends today murdered Avery Bancroft. Therefore, her text messages do have as much truth value as Shannon Shahid's.
Any response to that?
Yes, Your Honor, just that, once again, we don't care if any of the statements by Ashley Connell are true. All we care about is Shannon Shahid's subsequent action, which was her response.
Okay.
Then, Your Honor, I'd like to redact the statements of Ashley Connell and only keep the statements of Shannon Shahid's response, the last few statements where she responded to Ashley Connell.
Is that something you're okay with?
No, Your Honor, we're offering them for the non-truth purpose. We want them in for that purpose, not purpose only.
So with the belief that you're doing it for a non-truthful purpose and a limiting instruction to our fake jury that we're using it for a non-truthful purpose, I'm gonna allow the statements in. If at any point you think they're crossing that boundary, feel free to re-object,
Yes, Your Honor.
okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
So admitted.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Detective, I want to walk through some of these messages, specifically with the second set of text messages on the first page. It should be on the right.
Sure.
Now, the date at the top, that says October 5th, 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one day after that lawsuit we just talked about, right?
The lawsuit was on the 3rd, right?
Lawsuit was on the 4th.
Okay, I believe you.
And looking at these text messages, Shannon Shahid tells Ashley Connell, they don't know what's going to happen. First they saw you broke, living in your car, right?
It does say that, but again, take it with a grain of salt. Shannon Shahid's a psychic. She draws tarot cards.
Detective Nathanson, directing back to my question, that's what these messages say.
It is.
And then they say, but then they saw a different outcome. Bancroft gone, and the lawsuit gone.
Must have pulled the death card.
Is that a yes to my question?
It is what it says.
And after that, Shannon Shahid tells Ashley Connell, there will come a time where you and Bancroft cross paths. Contact me, and the spirits will guide you, right?
Yeah, again, I told you before, on the Mid-Riverine Express, I overheard Bancroft telling Connell that he planned to drop the lawsuit. The defamation suit is based on your contracts. Quite silly, if you ask me.
Detective, I'm looking for a yes or a no. That's what Shannon Shahid says. There will come a time where you and Bancroft cross paths. Contact me, and the spirits will guide you.
That is what she said, yes.
Thank you, Detective.
Of course.
Just want to make something very clear to the members of the jury. You didn't mention any of these text messages at direct examination, did you?
No, Shannon Shahid's a psychic. I don't think that's valid investigation.
Detective, that's a yes to my question. You didn't mention them on direct.
No.
I want to talk about why that might have been.
Sure.
No, you were. Yes, thank you. You were actually hired by the plaintiff Shannon Shahid in today's case, weren't you?
I was.
You actually knew Miss Shahid prior to today's case.
Professionally, yes.
She was a regular client of yours.
Regular, I mean, 2 to 3 times a week, maybe.
Well, it was actually 3 to 4 times, wasn't it?
Roughly.
Your Honor, permission to approach opposing counsel and witness in term of what's been pre-marked as Exhibit 27.
Granted.
And we're drawn on the courtesy copy.
Thank you.
Now, Detective, you recognize this exhibit I've just shown you, right?
I do, but I do have to warn you that I was not reminded of this until it was brought up in my deposition.
But you recognize it, correct?
I do, but I had forgotten about it by the time I was on the train.
But you read it when it was sent, true?
Months ago, but I had forgotten about it on the train.
This is an email from Shannon Sheehan's email address, right?
It is.
To your email address.
It is.
It was sent in February 2024,
It was.
more than 2 months before you boarded the train.
Objection, Your Honor, best evidence. I would like that the opposing counsel enter this piece of evidence before following with their remarks.
Your
I'm
Honor,
gonna
your
overrule, I
response.
think he's getting it.
Yes, Your Honor. This document is fair and accurate to the best of your knowledge.
It is, but again, counselor, I had totally forgotten about this by the time I was on the train.
That's yes to my question.
Yes,
Has it been changed or altered in any way?
not to my knowledge.
Your Honor, the defense offers exhibit 27 evidence.
Okay, any objections?
Yes, Your Honor, lack of personal knowledge may be earned.
Yeah.
This is an email coming from Shannon Shahid, and although she reviewed this email in the evidence, Nathanson did not testify to reviewing this email prior. She does not know the contents within this email, and therefore it's a lack of personal knowledge.
Response, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Your Honor, this witness just testified that she read the email when it was sent.
Then, Your Honor, I'd like to amend my objection to hearsay of the statements within the email.
So we'll respond to that then.
Yes, Your Honor, it's been laid on the record that these messages were sent from Shannon Sheehan. Shannon Sheehan is our party opponent in today's case, therefore they're admissible under Rule 801
Any response to that?
Yes, Your Honor, just one moment.
No problem.
Yes, Your Honor. Just because this came from Shannon Shahid's email does not mean that we know for a fact that these statements are from Shannon Shahid, and therefore it's still hearsay.
Response, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Your Honor, I'd like to direct Your Honor's attention to the case law tab of the Midlands, or the bench book in front of you. Specifically the case Ginger v. Heisman on page 4. Your Honor, pursuant to Ginger v. Heisman, emails or text messages are properly authenticated when the proponent has produced evidence, either direct or circumstantial, that would allow a reasonable jury to determine the author of the message. The fact that an email, text message, or other electronic communication is listed as coming from an address or number that is either known or purports to belong to a particular person is sufficient to lay foundation that the communication was made by that person who that address is associated with. Your Honor, this witness just testified that this email address she knew to belong to Shannon Sheehan. Therefore, under Ginger v. Heisman, for the purposes of admissibility, that is sufficient enough foundation to establish that these emails actually came from Shannon Sheehan.
Yeah, I'm gonna tend to agree, so I'm gonna overrule it for now.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Detective, I'm going to go through this email that the plaintiff sent you, starting with the second paragraph. Shannon Shahid says, if you have the time, you should really check out the Mid-River Express, correct?
Yes.
Then she goes on to say, if you can make the 8.20-second departure from the city, will I be happy to buy you a ticket?
That is what she said, but again, I was not there for Shannon Sheehan. This email, I totally forgot about it by the time I got home.
Detective, that's yes to my question. That's what she said.
That is what Shannon said.
And in the third paragraph of that email, well, Ms. Shahid, she admits she has a bit of an ulterior motive, right?
Yeah, again, she pulled the death card. It drives her crazy.
She said she knew her birth father would be on that train, right?
I mean, if I pulled the death card and my birth father was on the train, I'd be concerned too. So, I mean, fair assessment.
Detective, I'm looking for a yes or a no. She said she knew her birth father would be on that train, right?
She did say that, yes.
And then she said, I don't know exactly what's going to happen here, but I sense my half-sibling is involved.
Psychic senses.
That's what she said, Detective.
It is what she said.
Plaintiff's half-sibling, you're aware that's Taylor Hawks, right?
Yes, I am aware of that.
The person you're testifying against in today's case?
Well, I'm testifying to my findings, so,
Well, you're testifying for the plaintiff, right?
yeah.
In a case where Taylor Hobson is the defendant.
Yeah.
And Ms. Shahid, excuse me, Detective Nathanson, you're aware that if Shannon Shahid wins today's lawsuit, she'll receive an inheritance. True?
Probably,
If she wins, she'll receive money, right?
most likely.
Well, it's not just most likely, she will, right?
Sure.
And if Ms. Shahid wins today's lawsuit, she's not the only one who will benefit, is she?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, Detective Nathanson, if Shannon Shahid wins today's lawsuit, you will receive a contingency.
Everyone works with a contingency fee, so do you, Counselor.
Detective, I'm looking for a yes or a no. If Shannon Shahid wins, you will receive a contingency fee.
I will. 0.1%.
And in today's case, 0.1%, that amounts to $250,000.
It's a big case. I lowballed. Typically, private investigators charge up to 20%. I lowballed. 0.1.
Detective, that's a yes to my question. If the plaintiff wins, you'll receive $250,000.
Pretty standard, honestly.
I'm looking for a yes or no. You'll receive $250,000.
Yes, counselor, pretty standard.
If the plaintiff were to lose, Taylor Hobson were to be found not liable, you wouldn't receive a cent.
Well, that's how contingency fees work, counselor, yes.
Thank you, Detective. Nothing.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, please read that. Now, Ms. Stephenson, I'm sorry, may I proceed, Your Honor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, Ms. Stephenson, I just want to talk about that lawsuit that you heard on the train. What did you hear Amy Baycroft say about this lawsuit?
Well, it was over dinner, and again, Ashley Connell intended to try and convince him to drop the lawsuit, and I remember him distinctly saying that he was planning on dropping it anyways. It wasn't giving him a lot of good rep to be suing an artist for a podcast where she said that he was a millionaire. It's quite silly business, and he was very worried about his reputation, so I assumed that he was going to drop it eventually. However, Taylor Hobson then went on to drop it as soon as Amy Baycroft had passed away and he became CEO.
Now, Ms. Stephenson, these emails were brought up to you during cross. I just want to ask, when did you first see this email?
Honestly, the first time I saw the entire email was when defense attorneys were deposing me. I was not exactly familiar. I'd totally forgotten it was in my inbox by the time I was on the Virginia Express. Again, I was there because of JC Longstreet, not because of Shannon Sheehy.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any recross?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Now, Detective Nathan, you were deposed in today's case, right?
I was.
You'd be familiar with a copy of that deposition if I were shipped in court today.
I was.
Your Honor, permission to approach.
Yeah, just show opposing counsel first.
Yes, Your Honor. Detective Nathan, you were truthful and accurate in this deposition, right?
I was.
You flip to the back page. And that's your signature at the back, right?
Yes.
You're aware that you had from back when you wrote this deposition up until today's trial to change this?
Yes, I am.
Your Honor, directing the court's attention to lines 291 of this deposition. Detective, I want you to read silently as I read aloud.
Sorry, could you say line number one more time?
291.
And do you happen to have another copy? If
Oh,
you
yes,
don't,
Your Honor, of
don't,
course.
don't worry about it.
One moment. Your Honor, unfortunately, it looks
Hey.
like you only have two.
No,
as of
no
now.
biggie. Just read it out loud.
Question, what's Exhibit 27? Answer, Exhibit 27 is an email Shannon Shahid sent me on February 3rd, 2024. Question, did you take Shannon Shahid up on their offer? Answer, I strongly considered it. I read that correctly?
Yes, but it also says.
Objection, Your Honor. Maybe heard, in order to read depositions onto the record, you must read the full question and answer. This is in case law, people like me to turn your attention to.
Did you read the full answer?
Your Honor, I'd be happy to read the full answer.
Yeah, we will. Yes, read the full answer.
Answer, question, did you take Shannon Shahid up on their offer? Answer, I strongly considered it. Having someone cover your travel is always a bonus. But I wasn't sure whether I'd actually be in Australia at the time, so I put it on the back burner and later forgot about it. I only remember this email again when I was asked by the attorneys to search my emails for any correspondence regarding the Mid-River Express. I read that correctly?
You did.
And in that email, in this deposition, you said that you strongly considered taking up Shannon Shahid on her offer.
I did because it was a free trip to a luxury train ride, but again, I totally forgot about it by the time I was on the Mid-River Express.
But you first saw that email when she sent it, correct?
Glazed over it and read it thoroughly.
But you saw it.
Objection, Your Honor, to improper impeachment may be heard.
No, I'm gonna overrule it.
Yes, Your Honor. You saw it, correct?
Sure.
Thank you, Detective. Nothing further. Your Honor, permission to approach.
Don't think we ever redirect, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
have another witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Dr. Henry Edmond to the stand. Is opposing counsel still amenable to borrowing your stand for our demonstration?
Yes, I'll grab it for you.
Permission to construct the
Yeah.
demonstration, Your Honor?
Where'd you like it?
Just a minute. Thank you.
Like these get more confusing every year.
Thank you.
Permission to revoke myself
Yeah.
and make use.
May I proceed?
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you please introduce yourself to the court?
Dr. Hilaria Edmond.
And could you tell us a little bit more about your background?
Yes, I am pulmonologist. I'm also board certified in internal medicine. I went to Colorado College for bachelor's degree, Stritch School of Medicine for medical degree. I did 2 years in Nepal volunteering. I worked with heart and kidney patients, and I love to hike mountains.
And Dr. Edmond, why are you here in court today?
Well, I was on Migravina Express. I was only board certified doctor. I treated Mr. Bancroft when he was dying, and I also interacted with him and Taylor Hobson on the train.
And Dr. Edmond, were you asked to prepare a report for today's case?
Yes, I was actually. I call it the T method in preparation for the expert report. The standard procedure is the T. The E is explain what happened when I look at documents after Mr. Bancroft died, and then apply facts by testifying in court today.
And Dr. Edmond, is this the gold standard in your field?
Oh, it is pure gold. I would know because my father loves his gold standard vodka.
And Dr. Edmond, did you reliably apply this method to the facts of today's case?
Yes, I did.
And what materials did you review in conducting your report for today's case?
For the explain what happened, I look at Mr. Bancroft's autopsy, medical report, and a bottle of banana extract.
And Dr. Edmond, have you testified in court before?
Yes, 29 times.
Now, Dr. Edmond, I want to get into a little bit more about the report you prepared today. You mentioned earlier that you examined an autopsy. Would you recognize that autopsy if I showed it to you today?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that I'm approaching my witness, permission to approach opposing counsel.
Yep.
With what has already been entered into evidence as Exhibit 19A. Now, Dr. Edmond, can you tell me a little bit more about what that autopsy says?
Yes, so it says Mr. Bancroft died from at least stage 3, possibly stage 4 chronic kidney disease, that it was because of hyperkalemia, said there was no stomach contents in the body, and that there were some ligature marks on the neck.
Now, I know that's a lot of information to digest, and I want to take it apart one piece at a time. You mentioned there being no stomach contents. What does that mean?
Well, it means when Mr. Bancroft died, there wasn't any food in his stomach. If something caused his death that wasn't natural, it had to be liquid like water or tea maybe.
And Dr. Edmond, you mentioned earlier CKD. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
Yes, so I actually prepared a diagram to explain what chronic kidney disease is.
Permission for the witness to step down and introduce the demonstrative, Your Honor.
Any objection to turning over the demonstrator?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, if that changes at any time, feel free to raise an objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
Permission for the witness to step down. Now, Dr. Edmonds, can you tell us a little bit more about what CKD is?
Yes, so here we have two kidneys. We have a healthy kidney and diseased kidney. The difference is how they function. These are molecules or chemicals from the body. If you have healthy kidney, it goes into the kidney and it doesn't come back out. However, if you have chronic kidney disease, like Mr. Bancroft did, well, the kidney doesn't do a good job. So some of these chemicals or molecules go back into bloodstream.
Objection, Your Honor. that this time tool 702A, this witness lacks sufficient knowledge and foundations to testify to kidney diseases. Permission to perform a brief voir dire on the subject.
Let me have a response first. Do you feel like you can?
Your Honor, I feel as though we've laid proper foundation. The witness had already testified that she spent 2 years in a treating patients with kidney and cardiac issues. She also testified that she's certified in internal medicine, and this more than fulfills prong A of 702.
Before we continue, you can have a seat. Any response to that?
Yes, Your Honor, if I may proffer.
Yes.
Your Honor, this witness's specific area of expertise is pulmonology, as she testified to on direct examination. Pulmonology deals with the respiratory system, which doesn't include the kidneys. The voir dire would expose and discuss that fact.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yep.
Once again, the doctors already testified to being certified in internal medicine. This encompasses all internal organs, including the kidney and the heart. Furthermore, she had laid the foundation that she had treated patients in Nepal for 2 years with both cardiac and renal issues, further laying foundation to her knowledge and expertise in both cardiac and renal matters, thus fulfilling the prong A of 702.
Okay, I see where he's going, so I'm gonna allow a brief voir dire, and then we'll re-up the subject, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Dr. Evans, to be clear, you are board certified in internal medicine, right?
Yes, as it includes all organs of the body.
But despite that, it's board certification, you still got more education on pulmonology, right, to become an expert?
Well, in medical school, we learn about all the organs. So when I was in medical school, we spent a lot of time on heart, kidney, pulmonology. It was just specialization, but we know a lot about other organs.
Objection, Your Honor, to misleading the jury, if I may be heard.
Yeah.
They're only listing one of Dr. Edmonds' certifications on the board, and this is highly misleading to the jury. Dr. Edmonds just clarified to the jury that she's also certified in internal medicine. If they're just going to elicit that pulmonology on that board, I ask that they elicit all of her other certifications in order to be completely upfront with the jury.
Brief response. Your Honor, the witness testified that although she board certified in internal medicine, in order to become an expert in pulmonology, she had to get further certification and further education for that. Pulmonology is her expertise as contained in her report, and I'm going to go through her specific area of expertise.
Okay, just for that purpose, I'm gonna allow it, but if it goes out of that purpose, feel free to re-raise.
Yes, Your Honor.
Dr. Evans, you'd agree with me that you're board certified in pulmonology.
And internal medicine.
As we said, Dr. Evans, outside of that internal medicine, you still had to get a further certification in pulmonology.
Yes.
Your residency was in pulmonology.
Oh, yes, it was.
And in fact, Dr. Evans, you had your own private pulmonology practice, isn't that right?
Yes, but something I need to mention, pulmonology also deals with other organs. We don't just have one in the body, they interact all together, and that would include the kidneys.
Dr. Edmond, is it your testimony today as an expert that the kidneys are part of the respiratory system?
No, I was just saying is that when you learn about pulmonology, when you go to school for it, you learn about the respiratory system, but you also learn about other organs.
I understand that one of your specific area of expertise, pulmonology, that deals with the respiratory system, right?
Sure.
And you'd agree with me that the study of how diseases affect the kidneys, that's called nephrology, right?
Yes, it is.
You're not board certified in nephrology.
No, but I learned about the kidneys in medical school.
Your residency wasn't in nephrology. And you certainly didn't have a private nephrology practice.
Objection, Your Honor, needlessly cumulative.
No, I'm gonna overrule it.
And you certainly didn't have a private nephrology practice.
No, I did not.
Your Honor, I re-raise my 7-2 objection.
Okay. I'm going to take that into account, but I'm gonna use that to weigh her testimony, not to exclude her testimony. So I'm gonna allow you to continue, and I'm gonna say they've met 702A.
Yes, Your Honor.
Please feel free to.
Could you please continue your explanation, Dr. Edmonds?
Yes, so as I was saying, with chronic disease kidney, well, it doesn't work so well. So these chemicals can go back into the bloodstream and they can go to your heart, which can cause a heart attack if you have chronic kidney disease.
Dr. Edmonds, how can it cause a heart attack?
Well, like I mentioned, Mr. Bancroft on the autopsy, well, he died from hyperkalemia. That is just fancy doctor talk for a lot of potassium in the blood. So you can imagine this as molecules of potassium. If it goes back into the bloodstream, well, that can cause a heart attack and that can kill you.
Thank you, Dr. Edmonds. Please feel free to step back down and stand. Dr. Edmond, did you observe Mr. Bancroft exhibiting any signs of hyperkalemia during your time aboard the Midland Express?
No, from April 22nd to 24th, I did not see any symptoms. Only on the 25th when I treat Mr. Bancroft, and to me he seemed perfectly healthy on the train besides the 25th, and that was confirmed by his medical records that I reviewed.
And Dr. Edmond, do you recognize these medical records if I show them to you today?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that I'm approaching my witness permission to approach opposing counsel.
Yep.
With what has been marked as Exhibit 20, and I believe pre-admitted, would Your Honor like to courtesy copy? Now, Dr. Edmonds, what is this?
This is the medical record I reviewed.
And can you tell me a little bit more about what this medical record says?
Yes, well, it was in 2022. Mr. Bancroft goes to doctor. Doctor says to watch potassium intake. Says he is perfectly healthy, but besides his CKD, and says Taylor was present for whole conversation, asked if excessive potassium could be fatal for someone with normal kidneys. To which I say no to doctor.
And Dr. Edmonds, is Ashley Connell listed anywhere on that document?
No,
Is Shannon Shahid listed anywhere on that document?
no.
Now, Dr. Edmonds, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the conclusions you made for today's case. You mentioned earlier that you didn't observe Mr. Bancroft exhibiting any signs of hyperkalemia. How can someone that is asymptomatic progress to severely hyperkalemic in such a short period of time?
Well, it would have to be a natural source, some concentrated source. I reviewed something from the plaintiff when coming to expert report.
And what was that thing?
Well, it was this bottle of concentrated banana extract that I actually saw in one of the stores when we went shopping.
And would you recognize that banana extract if I showed it to you today?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that I'm approaching my witness. Permission to approach
Yeah.
this counsel with what has already been entered as exhibit. Now, Dr. Edmonds, is this the potassium you were talking about earlier?
Yes, I saw this at the store, Sherstool and Craft.
And can you tell me a little bit more about your time at Sherstool and Craft?
Yes, so we stopped in Condor, this nice little village. Reminds me of my family's Ukrainian village. We went to Sherstool and Craft, and I wanted to go shopping for my little Nikita to get him soccer ball. Instead, we go to the stool store, and I see this bottle and somebody holding it and asking the store employee if there is something stronger in the bag. I later learned that the person was Taylor Hobson.
And Dr. Edmonds, do you have any more?
Objection, Your Honor. Under Rule 602, lack of foundation. May I be heard? Your Honor, this witness testified she wasn't sure who that person was at first, and then she later found out it was Taylor Hobson. We asked that opposing counsel lay that foundation as to how she was able to find out that it was in fact Taylor Hobson.
If I may. May I proffer?
Yep.
The witness is about to elicit that following this interaction, she interacted with Taylor Hobson and found out that they were their child, Mr. Bancroft's child.
Okay, so let's just lay that foundation first, then re-ask that question. So Mrs. Stanton.
Yes, Your
Now,
Honor.
Dr. Edmonds, did you talk to this individual at the store and did you find out who they were?
Yes, after I saw them holding this bottle and asking store employee, they walk over to me, introduce themselves as Taylor Hobson, Mr. Bancroft's child, and also that they had the key to his room.
Now, Dr. Edmonds, I want to circle back to the expert report you were asked to prepare for today's case. What conclusions did you come to?
Well, I came to the conclusion that potassium caused Mr. Bancroft's heart attack, and that is what killed him.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Before we begin cross-examination, permission to retreat into the courtroom.
Yep.
May I proceed?
Yeah.
Dr. Evan, you just testified you saw Taylor Hobson holding this bottle, right?
Yes, I did.
I want to make something very clear for the members of the jury. You actually saw Taylor Hobson put this bottle back on the shelf.
I just saw Taylor Hobson holding it, and when the store employee responded, or when Taylor Hobson asked if there was something stronger, then I believe they put it back on shelf.
So you saw Taylor Hobson put it back on the shelf.
Sure.
Permission to republish.
Yep.
And after you saw Taylor Hobson put it back on the shelf, well, you didn't see him walk to the register.
No, he walked over to me and started speaking to me.
And after you were done talking, Taylor Hobson actually left the store.
Actually, I believe I left the store.
Is it your testimony today that you left the store before Taylor Hobson did?
I don't remember exact time, but I believe I did leave the store at that point.
Would you like me to refresh your memory on who left the store first?
Sure.
You wrote an affidavit in today's case.
Yes.
And you'd recognize that report if I showed it to you today?
Affidavit or report?
Okay. Your affidavit.
Yes.
You'd recognize if I showed it to you today?
Sure.
Approaching opposing counsel, no witness in turn of the witness's affidavit.
Yep.
Documents entirety. Approaching witness.
Yep.
Withdrawn with the courtesy copies. Dr. Evans, this is your affidavit.
Yes, it is.
And you flip to that last page, that's your signature back there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to direct the court's attention to line 112. If you could please read silently as I read aloud to the court. Out of nowhere, Taylor said Taylor and Dews had to leave, and Taylor dragged Dews out of the store. I read that correctly?
Yes, but I also said I ended up leaving without buying anything around 6:30 p.m. So, like I said, I left that time. I don't really know if Taylor was
Objection, Your
at the
Honor,
store.
to hearsay, improper impeachment, if I may be heard.
Yeah.
There is no direct contradiction in this affidavit, and thus this impeachment is improper.
Response, Your Honor?
Yeah.
So the witness testifies in their affidavit that Taylor dragged Dews out of the store, so they left the store. They then say they actually browsed the store for 15 more minutes before leaving at 6:30. It's clear that Taylor Hobson left the store prior to Dr. Evans.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yeah.
There is no direct testimony elicited in this affidavit that says Dr. Edmonds left the store after Taylor Hobson. There is no direct contradiction in this affidavit, and thus this impeachment is improper.
Okay, so she doesn't have to necessarily say, I left the store. Either way, her saying that she browsed the store for 15 minutes after witnessing Taylor leave the store implies that she left the store. So I'm gonna overrule it.
Yes, Your Honor, I'll retrieve that from you, Dr. Evans. Dr. Evans, I want to talk about why you might be testifying.
Sure.
In 2009, you started your own private practice.
Yes, I did. Edmund Pulmonary Associates.
It was successful.
It was.
You had a steady stream of clients.
I did.
Positive reviews.
Yes.
I mean, Dr. Evans, it was so successful, you remained open for 13 years.
Yes, I did.
But that all changed in 2021, isn't that right?
Yes. Oh, what can I say? There was some run-ins with my spouse's political campaign. What can I say? In America, we had fair elections. Back in Ukraine, in Soviet Union, we had communism. So I wasn't aware of these dirty games.
Well, let's break that down. Your spouse was running for the Midland State Supreme Court.
Yes, he was.
And when he was running, you saw attack ads plastered all over the news.
Yes, it was politics, how do I say? But Mr. Bancroft, well, he was just funding some super PAC of the opponent of my husband. I don't really know what that entails, but the super PAC published these attack ads.
Dr. Evans, let's break that down. I want you to answer the question. Your spouse, attack ads accused him of being a puppet for special interests.
It wasn't true, but yeah.
A corrupt judge who couldn't tell the truth to save his own life.
Objection, Your Honor. I fail to see the relevance of these statements. This in no way relates to today's case whatsoever.
Response, Your Honor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Your Honor, if I may proffer,
Yeah.
this witness believes that these statements made against their spouse were funded by Avery Bancroft and specifically also Taylor Hobson. This goes to bias, and bias is always relevant.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yeah.
Then I'd ask them to lay that foundation first before they continue with this line of questioning.
Response.
I think he's on his way to lay that foundation, so I'm gonna give him a little leeway to do that on cross.
Yes, Your Honor. They called your spouse a mockery of the Midlands justice system.
Politics, what can I say?
And to be clear, Dr. Redmond, we believe these ads were financed by Avery Bancroft.
Not that I believe, I knew he funded the Super PAC that published this campaign.
Not just Avery Bancroft. You specifically believe that Taylor Hobson had a hand in running those attack ads.
Objection, Your Honor, lack of personal knowledge. This witness would have no idea if Taylor Hobson played a role in these attack ads.
I'm gonna overrule it. If she doesn't know, she can just say she doesn't know.
Yes, Your Honor.
You specifically believe that Taylor Hobson had a hand in those attack ads.
Well, you see, I don't know for sure, and I only believe that for a split second when I met Taylor Hobson, and they said they were related to Bancroft.
Dr. Edmond, is it your testimony today that you don't, sitting right here, right now, believe Taylor Hobson ran those ads?
No, I just said when I met Taylor Hobson, I did believe they had it, but I don't know for a fact if they did or did not.
And sitting here today, you still believe that, even if you're not certain.
I don't think about it that often, honestly.
Well, let's talk about what those ads did. Your spouse ended up losing that election.
Unfortunately, yes.
He became depressed.
My spouse was depressed, yes.
He became more depressed than you've ever seen.
Yes.
Because of the ads you believe were funded by Taylor Hobson.
Well, you see, the ads caused him some pain, but it was really losing the election. I mean, it is an election after all. It could be the ads, it could be that they just didn't want to vote him into office. He was depressed because he lost the election.
Yes or no, Dr. Edmond? Do you believe that Taylor Hobson had a hand in those ads that caused your spouse depression?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered. This witness already said that they believe that Taylor Hobson played a role in those ads.
I'm gonna agree.
Yes, sir.
Sustain.
Motion is adjourned.
No, leave it in.
Dr. Edmond, they also ran ads against you.
Yes, they did.
And after those ads, you started to lose clients.
Yes, I did.
So many clients, in fact, you were forced to close your business.
Yes, but when one door closes, another opens, and I found employment again.
After 18 months of unemployment.
Like I said, I found employment again.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any reader?
No redirection, Your Honor. I just asked my witness to step back.
Any other witnesses from the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor, this is the plaintiff post, I'll read this. Pardon, I'll read you a little, please stand. Your Honor, can I please get a quick time check? Of course.
454.
Good afternoon, please state your name for the court.
Hi, I am Kirby Little.
And Ms. Doolittle, what do you do for a living?
Well, currently I am unemployed. It's just been so hard since David Bancroft died. I used to work for him.
Ms. Doolittle, could you tell us why you're surprised today in court?
Well, again, I used to work for Avery, Mr. Bancroft, professional.
And what was it like working with Bancroft?
It was great. I loved Bancroft. I loved working for Mr. Bancroft. Scheduled his meetings, did his emails, and watched his diet.
His diet? Ms. Doolittle, why did you watch his diet?
Well, as a nutritionist, I made sure that he was always in the best of shape, which is why I had access to all of his medical records.
His medical records, would you recommend to the today?
Yeah.
Your Honor, permission to take the witness, I will pass the witness. Only 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 20.
Yes.
Now, Ms. Doolittle, could you please tell us what his medical records say?
Well, right here it says that he had chronic kidney disease, and that meant that potassium could be potentially fatal. It also says that
Taylor Hobson was at this visit and asking about his condition.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Now, I want to bring you back to the literary reading stress. Did you recognize anyone besides Bancroft?
Yeah, Taylor Hobson.
Jared Hobson. How did you know the defendant?
Well, Taylor Hobson is Avery's kid. I knew about like all of his relationships as his assistant.
And did you ever talk to him?
Yes, the day before Avery died, at dinner that night, Avery told me he was planning to get off the trip a stop early. After he said that, a glass dropped and shattered, and I couldn't be letting any dangerous glass touch my Avery, so I went to go clean it up, and Taylor Hobson was right by it. As I passed by them, I heard them muttering to themselves, "He can't leave. That'll ruin everything." And so I was like, "Hey Taylor, what's wrong?"
And how did Jared Hobson respond?
He went, "Go away!" So I ran back to Avery.
Thank you, Ms. Zeus. I know this is very hard for you, but I want to talk about the day that Bancroft was. How did that morning start after you?
That morning, I was up until 4 a.m. working on a project for Avery. It was sometime around 2 a.m. when I got to hear his voice for the last time. He sent me a voice memo.
Voice memos. Could you please explain more what the voice memos were?
This is how he conducted business. He'd send me these beautiful voice memos, and then I'd transcribe them into a written form.
And would you recognize this?
Yeah.
The information for answer to a pledge of oath and counsel of the witness and term with exhibit 29A through B. Permission to put it back? Yep. Now, you remember little RV voice memos?
Yeah.
And are they other copies?
Yeah.
Has there been any change or alteration?
Doesn't look like it.
Your Honor, motion to enter exhibit 29A through B and other reports of it.
Is there any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
Alright, so entered.
Now, Ms. Doolittle, could you please tell us the content of 29C?
Yeah, sure. Seems like something like. Yeah, of course. From what it says right here, it says that this was sent around 1:48 a.m., just hours before he passed. And here it says, though despite our argument, Taylor still gifted me some tea in a teacup. If I was in Taylor's shoes, the only thing I would give me would be poison.
And did you see Taylor Hobson the day that Bancroft died?
Yeah, actually, I did. That morning, I was looking around for that tea and teacup mentioned, and I couldn't find it. So I thought about asking Taylor about it.
And what was it and what did Taylor Hobson say?
Taylor Hobson didn't say anything, but when I saw them, I noticed that they were just kind of standing there.
No pleasure.
Yes. Yep, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Ms. Doolittle. I want to start with those voice memos that you mentioned on direct examination. Your Honor, permission to approach opposing counsel and the witness with what is already in evidence with 29B.
Granted.
Does Your Honor have a comment?
I believe
Ms. Doolittle, this was sent to you by Avery Bancroft the day before he passed, right?
Yeah, like a bit before the other one.
Read along silently as I read aloud. Though maybe I've been too harsh to Taylor, one of the other passengers confronted me today, and I shudder to think what might have happened if Taylor wasn't there with me. I read that correctly?
Yeah, and then he said, "Oh well, doesn't matter."
Permission to approach the jury. Ms. Doolittle, I want to talk about why you might be here today to testify. You loved your job with Mr. Bancroft, right?
I love Mr. Bancroft. I love working for Mr. Bancroft so much.
And after Mr. Bancroft passed away, you wanted to keep your job, isn't that right?
I know that Taylor became the CEO of Bancroft Estates. I'm not as close with Taylor as I am with Avery.
Ms. Doolittle, you wanted to keep your job, right?
It would have been nice. Yeah, on May 2nd.
Miss Doolittle, Taylor Hobson fired you, right?
Yes. Which was so surprising because he used to be so nice to me.
Miss Doolittle, now you're here today testifying voluntarily, right?
Yeah.
You're testifying voluntarily against the person who fired you, isn't that right?
Yeah. For Avery.
Right. Now I want to move on and talk a little bit more about the plaintiff, Shannon. As Mr. Bancroft's assistant, you were familiar with his bank statements, right?
That's correct.
You recognize a copy of those bank statements if I showed them to you?
Yeah, I mean, I knew everything about him.
Permission to approach opposing counsel and the witness with exhibit 22.
Yep.
May I approach them? Yes. These are Avery Bancroft's bank statements, right?
Yes, they are.
They're a fair and accurate representation.
Yep.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense moves to enter exhibit 22 into evidence. Pursuant to stipulation 7, all hearsay objections have been waived.
Okay, so any objections besides hearsay to 22?
No objection.
Alright, so admitted.
Now, if I could turn your attention to the second page of this Doolittle, you see that Taylor Hobson's name is mentioned quite a bit, right?
Yeah, and then it just stops.
Well, Taylor Hobson was receiving $50,000 every month, right?
Yeah.
And if I could get you to look for Shannon Shahid's name on that bank statement, you see it 2 times, right?
Yeah. Overall, it's $1,050.
So Mr. Bancroft was sending Shannon Shahid just $1,000 once a year, right?
Yeah.
And you're actually aware that in May of 2024, Shannon Shahid, the plaintiff, asked Mr. Bancroft for $50,000, right?
Yeah, it was like some legal permit issues.
But in response, Avery Bancroft sent her 50, right?
Yeah, he did. More than he was sending Taylor.
Just to be clear, he was sending Taylor Hobson $50,000 a month, right?
Yeah, but then he stopped.
And he sent Shannon Shahid 50.
Yeah.
All right. Permission to approach the truth. Miss Doolittle, I want to talk about the Mid-River River Express. You were the one who booked your ticket and Avery Bancroft, right?
Yeah.
And you actually posted that on Instagram, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
You'd recognize the Instagram post that you made if I showed it to you.
Yes, I would.
Permission to approach opposing counsel with exhibit 9.
Yep.
Permission to approach the witness. May I approach the witness? This is your Instagram post.
Yeah, it
This
is.
is a fair and accurate representation.
Yep.
Hasn't been changed.
No, it hasn't.
At this time, the defense moves to enter exhibit 9 and 7.
Any objections to exhibit 9?
Yes, Your Honor, to hearsay, to the statements and the votes.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
Yep.
Your Honor, the defense is amenable to a constructive redaction of the caption of this post. We simply want to use the image, not the caption.
Is that amenable to plaintiff if we redact the caption and keep everything else?
Your Honor, there's also a statement and the tickets, on the picture.
Okay, so first, are you okay with redacting the caption?
Yes.
Okay, that's done. Now the words in the ticket. Any response to that?
Your Honor, I don't believe that these words are statements, so they can't be used for their truth value under Rule 801.
Any response to that?
Yes, Your Honor, there is times, there's dates, there's names. These are obviously statements that can be used, come to be a statement of travel, destination, and therefore, and it is being used.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
Yep.
Your Honor, both parties agree to the information within this Instagram post. It's already stipulated that the trade departed on April 22nd. We're simply using this for the effect on the listeners, which would be the people who viewed this Instagram post.
Any response to that?
Yes, Your Honor. Nowhere in this document does it state who viewed this exhibit or anything of the sort, and therefore it is being used for the truth matters.
May I be heard on this?
Oh, no, it's okay. I'm going to overrule it. We're gonna redact the caption. I'm gonna overrule the objection on the biographical information within the ticket, because that's just spit out by a robot. And the witness can testify whether or not they saw this post, and if they haven't, they can just say they haven't.
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Doolittle, there are 40,000 likes on this shows Avery Bancroft's ticket, right?
Yeah, part of it.
Permission to approach. I want to talk about one of the passengers. You might have seen this post. Ashley Connell was in the cabin right next to Mr. Bancroft on that trip, right?
Yes.
And he actually spoke to Ashley Connell on the trip.
Larger foundation, this witness has not made a foundation example of how they would know Ashley Cornell.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
Yeah.
Lady Foundation.
Yeah. I'm
You're
gonna say-
you're familiar with Ashley Connell, right?
Yes, and their son Bailey Cornell, oh my gosh, he's a sweetheart.
And Ashley Connell was staying in the cabin directly next to Mr. Bancroft, right?
Yeah,
You actually had an interaction with Ashley Connell on April 24th, right?
yes I did, and in Haskins.
Ashley Connell told you, I don't know how you put up with Bancroft, right?
Objection, here's to the statements of Ashley Cornell.
Your Honor, may I answer?
Yep.
Your Honor, it's not the defense's contention that she doesn't know how Ms. Doolittle put up with Avery Bancroft. It simply goes to the state of mind of Ashley Connell when she made this.
Any response to that?
Yes, Your Honor, it is the defense's contention that Ashley Cornell was involved in the death of Avery Bancroft, and therefore this statement is clearly being used for truth and answer. If defense is contending that they're speculating into the mindset, then that would be a speculation.
Your Honor, may I answer?
Yep.
Nowhere in that statement does it mention Ashley Connell trying to kill Avery Bancroft. The statement was, I don't know how you put up with Bancroft. It's simply going to her mindset at the time.
I'm gonna overrule it for that limited purpose. If they go outside of that purpose, feel free to re-raise.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll re-ask my question. Ashley Connell told you, I don't know how you put up with Mr. Bancroft, right?
Yeah, but then I brushed it off because literally everybody says that to me.
Well, you didn't just brush it off. Ashley Connell actually told you, seriously, the world would be a better place without Bancroft in it.
Objection. Here's to the statements of Ashley Cornell.
Your Honor,
Response?
Your Honor, we don't believe that the world would be a better place without Mr. Bancroft in it. Again, this is going to the state of mind of Ashley Connell when she said these statements.
Any response to that?
Yes, Your Honor, it is the defense's contention that Ashley Connell was involved in the death of Avery Bancroft, and therefore saying, eliciting a statement from Ashley Connell that the world was better without Bancroft is clearly going to the truth of the matter asserted.
So, the truth of the matter asserted has to be the truth within the statement, so it's the truth of whether or not the world would be a better place. And so because they're not using it for that purpose, I'm gonna overrule it.
Yes, Your Honor. I'll re-ask my question. Ashley Connell told you the world would be a better place without Bancroft in it, right?
Yeah, but everybody thinks that about Avery. They just don't know him like I do.
Your testimony that everybody thinks that the world would be a better place without Mr. Bancroft?
Well, you can't say what everybody thinks, but he's not the most favorite.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Do you not, we have time for review?
20 seconds, man. Do you want it?
No, Your Honor, I haven't.
Thank you so much. Any more witnesses from the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor, with that, the plaintiff rests his case.
Okay, I'm gonna, timekeepers, how are we doing?
We have 1 hour and 36 minutes to go.
We don't know what the actual all was.
I put down 5:30, we started at 2:30.
We both put 5 minutes.
Okay.
Back to you.
Okay, so let's do a 5-minute break. So what time is it now?
4:03.